Hey there, this is Barb McDermott with Shift Formula, and my guest today, and if I'm saying it correctly, it should rhyme with today, Wayne Lachat. Am I right?
Well, it's close. I actually say Lachat.
Lachat.
And yeah, that way people have a fighting chance of spelling it right.
This is true. This is true. I'm
Yep.
always trying to make things fancier, you know?
Yeah, right.
So welcome, Wayne. You are
Thank
one of our newer Shift Insiders. How long have you been a part of our community now? Do you remember?
So I'm on day 26.
Wow,
So yeah, just under a month.
just under a month. And
Yeah.
what brought you? How did we even find one another?
So it was if by chance, I guess, but I was going through Facebook and I found a little snippet of a clip that you had somewhere, and it triggered an interest. I hit the like button and kind of followed you along for about a year, and listening to what you had to say, and a lot of things made sense, but having kind of a high fat diet just went totally against everything I knew, and against anything that's worked in the past for me, especially, I've had high cholesterol in the past, so having that style diet would give my doctor a heart attack. So never mind me.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. And it just hit me one day that I just had a day where I realized I was counting my next meal and what the carbs were going to be, not really what the meal was, but what the carbs were going to be. And that night I saw a video and it talked about the insanity of exactly what I went through that day, of fighting for the meal that you just went through. Before you finish the last bite, you're planning for your next meal that's loaded with carbs. And that was me. And I was very cognizant of that day. So it all just fell into place. And I said, it can't hurt to give this a try, because what I'm doing is killing me.
So,
So,
and what jumped out at me, what you just shared,
mhm.
that I call it that incessant, intrusive thoughts of food. We're literally finishing the last few bites, and we're already projecting what's next and when is it. Is that
Right.
what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Craving.
absolutely. Yep.
Were cravings a pretty powerful part of your life?
Cravings were a constant part of my life, and especially when it came to anything that was loaded in carbohydrates and fruit. And realizing now that that fruit was high sugar, and my brain's telling me that, hey, this is something that's sweet and really, tasty, and it's got to be good for me. It's certainly better than, whatever I was having, a bagel or whatever. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the whole category of carbohydrates is it's overwhelming and confusing. We had shared on a Facebook post recently, and we talked about that, how there's actually more sugar to your body by consuming a large green apple than there is of one original Krispy Kreme glazed donut.
Yeah.
And we go,
And,
screech, don't eat the, we're not saying eat the donuts. We're just saying that apple is
right.
more of a lateral move than you might think. Right?
And that came into a great conversation that we had recently, that I had with one of the boys. And just to give you a little bit of a backdrop, I have a therapeutic support home for boys 14 to 18 that are in the foster care system and also experience trauma. And my goal is, if they can't reunify with their parents, and I do this regardless if they do or not, but I teach them life skills. And I work with them as long as I possibly can until they decide to move on, or they've aged out of the system, which no longer is 18. It can go on beyond that. But any chance I get to explain to them how the world works in any way, shape, or form is great. And this was such a learning experience, because for me, the way that I look at food now is I look at how much sugar does this make going into my body, not necessarily how much sugar it has in the ingredient packet, but how much my body's producing. And when you were able to break it down to tablespoons or teaspoons, and I could easily calculate that by dividing it by 4. And when one of the boys was saying, hey, I'm going to have some organic apple juice, this has got to be good for me, right? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than the soda you were thinking about getting, I guess. But at the same time, what's the sugar difference? You know, how much tablespoons of sugar are you, or teaspoons of sugar are you having in comparison? And we compared it, and there was about a half a teaspoon difference between the soda he was going to have and the apple juice. And it was amazing. And it was kind of an eye opener for him. And it's just an easy way for me to track, do I really want to put this into my body right now? And have to fight through that sludge.
Great way
And
of
I
putting
don't,
it. Fight through the sludge.
yeah,
Interesting you said. I remember looking at my daughter with her type 1 diabetes, and when her blood sugar was elevated, I would see it as sludge. It's interesting. It feels like sludge.
it does.
Do you want to give a little bit of a history on your, what are you shifting for? Because not everyone is going to be seeing this. They might just be
Sure.
listening to this. Go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. So one of the things that I've had all kinds of medical issues throughout my life, but yet I've been in pretty rugged jobs and constantly go through pain or whatever. So uh, I have osteoarthritis throughout my body from years of beating on my body. I have a knee that at some point in time is going to have to be replaced. I've got a hip that at some point in time is going to have to be replaced. What I've noticed in 26 days, which is remarkable and absolutely amazing to me, and it happened well within the first week, within probably the first 3 days, is I noticed I had a lot less pain. Um, we had talked one time about, the sugar that I was putting into my system, and I could equate that sugar to, if you were to run your hand through raw sugar, and it's almost like sandpaper, that in my mind, I was looking at that going through my joints. And instead of the fats that we're eating with our food, that's an oil, and I'm oiling my joints instead of being allowed grit and everything else to go through my joints. And it's no wonder I feel so much better. It's remarkable. Yeah.
And I know that along with that, an easing in your body. And how old are you, Wayne?
So I'm 54.
54. Okay. And you're a
Yep.
robust Vermonter kind of a guy, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Construction. But you notice an easing of inflammation or scratchiness or pain. But I
Yep.
know you also had a little bit of other kind of triumph in this short period of time so far.
Definitely. Yeah. So it was amazing. I'm not one for really weighing myself. I like to weigh myself on occasion just to make sure I'm making progress. Had a doctor's appointment that 15 days into this, I think it was 15 days. I've kind of lost track because I'm really not paying that much attention. But I think I had lost 22 pounds in in 22 days.
That's
I
excellent.
think in 15 days I had lost about 15 pounds. So it worked out to be a pound a day. And it was just amazing. And, I mean, I'm a pretty big guy, so I expected that I would lose initially the weight pretty fast. And, I went back a week later where I only lost 2 pounds. And I say only 2 pounds, but I'm thinking about all the other weight loss programs that I've ever tried. And it's always been 2 pounds is a good, healthy weight to lose every week. 15 pounds every week, probably not so much. But the 2 pounds definitely. And as a little bit discouraging as that was for that moment, I was able to turn that around and just be really happy that that success is continuing. And the eating portion, to lose that weight, I am not hungry. I am not starving. I am not, craving, which blows my mind. It was amazing how fast that reaction took. I've always believed that it takes 21 days to change a habit. And I think within 24 hours, I really didn't have any cravings. In 3 days, I was saying to myself that this is not just a placebo effect. This is actually real, because I was able to go 15 to 18 hours between a meal and I wasn't starving. And at that 18 hours, what amazed me the most was I was preparing my meal and I was salivating.
Yeah.
Normally, if I'm preparing a meal, my stomach's growling, even if I'm not really hungry. I'm preparing a food and my stomach's like, just stuff it in me, feed it, feed me. And this was different. My stomach wasn't growling. It was my mouth that was salivating for the food. And when I tasted the food, I enjoyed it. I wasn't inhaling it. I was just enjoying it. It was very flavorful. It was actually a really good experience to eat. And it wasn't just to satisfy my cravings. It was because at that point I was hungry and I needed to eat, but I wasn't starving.
Do you notice, like for me, when I went through that shift, that transformation, I felt like a kid again. It reminded me of when I ate as a child.
Well, I would say the last 2 years especially, food did not have a good taste to me. It's like, this cake or this pie or this something should taste good, but it really doesn't. But, you know, I took this slice, I'm going to eat the whole thing. That was the mentality. You put it on your plate, you ate it. And, now the other day I had this unbelievable salad that was just phenomenal. And I had a bunch of meats and cheeses on there. And it was just really, really good. And halfway through it, I was like, I can stop now and be really satisfied. And I don't have to eat the whole thing. And I didn't. And I was okay with it. So it's really, the mindset has changed. I realized that, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this to become healthy again. Um, I'm realizing that at 54, I was running out of steam, and keeping up with teenage boys was not the easiest. And the amount of excess weight that I had, it was just, it was incredible and insane. And, it was surprising that I could keep up with them for as long as I did.
Well, it's a testament to how cool of a guy you are, Wayne.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And I was just thinking along those lines. We in shift, we try to reach out to people and encourage them to believe that you
Mhm.
can actually reset your body so that you literally forget to eat more often.
Right.
Have you ever had that sensation? I know the meals are spreading out, but they actually, oh my gosh, I forgot to eat. Do you have?
Oh, absolutely. There was a great time. I'm thinking about, um, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was saying to myself, I'm starting to get a little bit hungry, and I'm trying to think when the last time I ate. It was like, oh, wow, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 1:30 in the afternoon. It's like, no wonder I'm hungry.
You mean the day before?
The day before. Right. And so here it is, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I said, well, I know I'm going to have, a big dinner. My kids are coming up and visiting, and I'm going to have some dinner tonight. So I don't want to eat anything heavy. And I said, I'll just grab a hard boiled egg, and that should be fine. And on my way to the kitchen, I got sidetracked with the boys, and I'm doing a few things with them. And then I ended up working outside because I've got a bunch of stuff we're trying to get done before it snowed that day. And, next thing I know, it's 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm really not that hungry. And I'm thinking I should get something in there. And I was able to go through and wait until I had dinner with my family, and I wasn't starving then. It was satisfying to eat. It was delicious. And, I enjoyed the whole experience. And in that time frame, which was what, 28 hours, I wasn't starving, which, you know, 26 days ago, you couldn't convince me that that would happen. There's no way, I was feeding myself every moment I could, every couple hours.
Yeah, when we are craving, when we are thinking about foods, when we find ourselves grazing, which is really the nutritional directives kind of led us there.
Hmm.
We know we're trapped in sugar burning mode.
Right.
And now that you're experiencing these hours, sometimes 28 hours at a time, where you
Right.
didn't think about food, or if you thought about food, it was more like, whoa, I'm thinking about food because I haven't thought about food. It's almost like the thinking of the not thinking. But here's
Yeah.
the whole thing for our listeners to understand,
Hmm.
what Wayne is accomplishing is when we're not eating, our insulin levels drop down low. And when insulin levels drop, we can tap in to our fuel on board. We can tap into our body fat.
Right.
When we're not eating and we're not hungry, we're dining in. That's how we lose weight. We get to use it up finally, you know?
Right.
And to be able to do it pleasantly without white knuckling, literally forgetting to eat.
Yeah. Well, that was another kind of life lesson I gave to one of the boys. I had my meal. I don't remember what it was at the time, but it was, he actually said, that's a lot of cholesterol in there. Aren't you worried about your cholesterol? And I said, no, I'm good. And he was eating a pizza. And I said, here's the funniest part about this. I said, the fuel that you're eating is like burning a piece of paper. And I said, you're going to keep burning that piece of paper and it's going to burn out quick. And you're going to need another piece of paper to keep that fire lit. I said, my meal is like a candle. I'm eating it, which lights the wick. It starts to melt it down, and then it just burns off its own self continuously until it burns out. So that candle, I don't have to worry about it, think about it, control it, nothing. But you still have to feed your pieces of paper to keep your fire going. And he was like, wow. That was like, he's thinking about that and really thinking about how the body works. And we went into a much deeper discussion about it. And it was just a good analogy for him to grasp the concept, of
Great
how.
analogy. I had never heard the candle and the candle wax.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really powerful. And the peace that we experience when we are in that mode. It's cliche to say fat burning, sugar burning, because the world takes it and, manipulates it. But when you're really actually in it, it's really powerful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you went from struggles, I guess, weight, pain, cravings, and then those, to me, I think the food demons it's sometimes even the most of all of it, spirit sapping.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's a little demoralizing too, it's because I'm really fighting myself, knowing that what I'm doing is harming myself and I can't control it. And it's just a whole different outlook on life now.
Yeah, we've had many shifters say that they feel as if they've found themselves again. They felt so underneath it, or even just the self-esteem that drops. We start beating ourselves up, and inner critic gets louder and louder, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So you had some great surprises in that, like, whoa, within hours, my cravings are gone, and like, whoa, now I'm not eating for how many hours, and whoa, look at the weight loss that's happening, right?
Yeah.
That shifting from craving to actually enjoying hunger and meals again. The ability to be able to stop eating halfway through only because we're full, not because we have to.
Right. Yeah.
So, to wrap this up, Wayne, if someone out there is listening and they can identify with, your age and the struggles that you're experiencing and where you are in your life, what kind of certainties do you now have that you hadn't had before, knowing where this is going for you?
Yeah. So it's really funny, the transition going through this program compared to the old mindset. And if we're talking certainties, I mean, the certainty that I have is that the way that I'm eating losing the weight is a given. Feeling stronger, feeling healthier, being able to actually go for a walk and not have excruciating pain. I do hills and I still feel, some pain, but it's nowhere near what it was before. To feel energized, to wake up in the morning and actually want to get up and do things instead of just like feeling lethargic and cruddy all the time. Those are the things that really they boost me. And I've heard stories, from people who have lost weight, that they have more energy and that they feel better. And I know it's true because, prior to this, because it just makes sense. But to actually experience it in such a short amount of time, that blew me away. Because everybody that's gone through that, it's always been a month or it's been 2 months, before they really feel that difference. This was 3 days. I felt the difference. I knew that this was going to work for me, that this is something that I can. Here's the most critical part, I think, for me, is that every diet that I've been on, and I've probably tried 15 different ways of eating, trying to lose weight, that I could not seem to grasp the fact that I could do this for the rest of my life. This particular way of eating, I enjoy so much. It's such an easy way. Meal prep is incredibly easy. I love it. And as busy as I am, I need that. The food is delicious. My grocery bill is cut. That was the other part that blew me away, was the fact that, I've gone on diets where my grocery bill to buy good stuff compared to the cruddy stuff, my food bill was outrageous. This is just the opposite. My food bill is less. And to eat better, to eat healthier, to feel better, and to have a lower food bill, all of that is just such a bonus for me.
Like all the boxes get checked off, right?
Yeah. And it's great, and I mean, I can't thank you enough for all the science that you've brought out and explained, and just allowed people like myself to grasp, what we were doing in the past and how it was affecting us, and how simple, and it really is simple if you follow through with yourself and follow through with your plan, that it's very easy to do. I think the trigger for people, and I think this goes for anything, whenever they make a lifestyle change, is they have to be ready for it. If they're not in their mind, if they're not ready for it, it's very hard to become successful. But if they're able to visualize that this is something that they can do and want to do it, they shouldn't have any problem doing this at all.
Hey, pass the butter, right?
Yeah.
Pass the butter. Well, Wayne, I want to thank you so much for your time. When the first time I heard your voice, I was like, okay, this voice has got to be heard. And then when the person behind the voice was as awesome as you turned out to be, I was like, wow, there's the whole package. So that's how we feel about you. I'm telling you. And as a teacher, when like you just said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And it seemed to be that was our fate for us, because you just took everything I taught and just applied, and whew, you soared. And now what I love more than anything, not only are you changing your fate, but you're impacting young people.
Yeah.
And those young guys, once they know and learn from you, you can't unknow it. You can't unlearn it.
Right.
That's such a powerful catalyst for them and their health and going forward.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wayne, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
As I say, to always keep calm and shift on. And I'm just excited because now I know the rest of your life is going to be the best of your life. That's what we strive for.
Indeed.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne.